Welcome to Keeping Up with Trends. This is Fred Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and we are joined with our host, Sergio Davids. How are you? How's your week? How's your life?
Hey Fred, I'm doing good, doing good. Took some much needed leave, enjoying the sun and beach, just, feeling refreshed, man. There's something about the beach that just, I don't know. I don't know about you, but it just heals the soul, as it were.
Why do you have to take days off? Just go after work. Just roll yourself out of bed and just go to the beach.
You say this, but I live relatively close to the beach, but it might as well be in a different country for the time I get to see it. But when I do, oh man, I appreciate it.
Yes, I grew up in a beach town myself,
Oh yeah?
at a portion of my life, yeah. Um, and it was probably one of the most, I wouldn't say happiest, but
Yeah,
geographically speaking, it was probably one of the most distinctive experiences I had in my life. I mean,
yeah.
we grew up in four different countries and many different, climates, but to watch the sunset into the ocean for myself
Yeah, yeah. It
is
never gets old.
it never gets old. I remember it as a 6-year-old kid, so that's how,
Jeez.
yeah, so that's how,
Well, you make your way down to South Africa for your next seminar. I'm gonna try and twist some arms to get you to Cape Town
all
so
right,
you
we'll
can
do it.
experience it.
We'll do
Awesome, man. Well, let's get to business. So, we've had quite a big week for company earnings, specifically Walt Disney and Alibaba beating company earnings. And then I thought we could end things off, in space, the final frontier with Virgin taking their first space tourists. So, it's quite
Was he really
interesting.
their first space tourist?
Well,
Wasn't that?
before they took, specifically astronauts, these are people who were paid, for a seat. One guy, and we'll get to a bit later, this specific person, he was a former British athlete, Olympian, sorry. He purchased his ticket way back in 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's been waiting a long time to to get to space, and thankfully he did, and came back.
I wonder if you'd be able to scalp them and be a reseller. You'd probably make, uh,
The craziest thing is, I remember being a kid when they first announced this. I mean, way back 20 years ago. And, I thought, okay, this is amazing. We're gonna, get in space. And they promised within a few years. Fast forward to 2023, and they've finally done it. I guess better late than never.
yeah. I mean, listen, he put out his reputation out on the line to do this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and
what's it, Richard Branson?
yeah, and it's the first of its kind. And everybody, all of them, all those, if I could categorize Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, um,
Branson.
Branson. These are guys that, they're very, how should I say, curious. Like, yeah, they're always like, dreamers. They're almost like dreamers
Yeah.
who, what if I could do this? Well, if you have enough money, you could do it. And guess what? They're doing it.
Yeah, they're doing it. I mean, Elon took people to space. He's taking people to space. Bezos did it, you know, about what, 6 months ago. So yeah, it's an awesome time for, space travel and slash tourism. I always think sort of long term. It's not just for now, it caters to the very rich, going up in space. But like any, technology or, new thing, the more people doing it, the cheaper it comes, the more accessible it could be. So I think maybe, 5 to 10 years we could see, I'm not going to say the average Joe, but maybe middle income is heading up to space.
Well, it's also the what's that called? The scale. Um, once you scale something and
Yeah,
it becomes cheaper because you're scaling it up. And
yeah.
that's a reality I think that all of us will at some
Well,
point realize.
Well, look, the ticket to space is $200,000, right? So, I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of money. But that being said, would you want a ticket aboard? Is that
Um,
something you'd want to experience?
I hate to admit this in public, but I'm probably afraid of heights.
Okay, well then you are absolutely the wrong person. I mean, you're heading up
Oh, an
into, well,
airplane, and I think it's a death sentence, you know?
and now you can't even see the ground basically. You'll be
Are you
seeing
kidding me?
Earth.
You want to send me to space? Oh wow. What's it
So this
like?
this specific flight gives you an hour of well,
Space
zero
time?
gravity. Yeah. Zero gravity for an hour before it
I
heads
guess,
back.
like if the experience of it, if in our lifetime, and
Yeah.
if you have the available funds, and in your lifetime you don't see it becoming something that's widespread, and
Yeah.
this is your thing, like this is your thing, like everybody has a thing, right?
Yeah.
And this is your thing, then yeah, like why not? It's
Yeah.
it's something, it's an experience that nobody can really relate to it. And trust me, you'll be the most interesting person at the party when you bring this up,
Yeah,
right?
where have you traveled to? Well, I've been to space.
Oh, really? Tell us about it.
Story topper. Look, I find it, this is the first steps, tentative steps to not, I mean, we've done space travel, but I mean, you know, at this kind of scale, because it starts with trips to the stratosphere, then it ends with, trips to the International Space Station, which maybe they'll expand, right?
Right.
And
What's
then
that?
maybe they'll have a moon base. I mean,
Right.
let's face it, NASA is planning a trip, its first
Tomorrow.
trip back to the moon
Right.
in 2024, which
Oh,
is
is it?
amazing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've got a crew already. They're working on it. And yeah, we'll be able to relive, those moments back in the
It's interesting
60s.
that it is because the Obama administration took a really aggressive step to divest from NASA
Yeah.
and, and take some of that money away and put it elsewhere. So it's
Yeah,
interesting
and
that
then
they're allocating some money back to that.
then a complete 360, what with, Space Force being a thing and getting
Interesting.
the money back into NASA. Yeah, we could see a moon mission in a year's time. I'm super
I wonder
excited
how
for
that's
that.
going to overlap with, NASA. If you have private entities taking you up north,
Yeah.
uh, you know, well, how's that going to, conflict of interest or not?
Well, yeah, it starts off as an awesome humanitarian mission, but let's wait and see, how it goes. But it's something I would love to experience.
Sure.
Um, it's just an amazing time, I guess, to be alive and witness this. Return to the moon, man.
I guess with enough therapy, I could get over my fear.
Yeah.
Make my
Well,
way.
you want to be compass enough to remember the journey, you know. Maybe they'll just turn your mic off so that you don't scream in everyone's ear for that full hour.
You know what, Serge? Maybe you go first, and I'll see
And I'll tell you about it.
next step.
Awesome. So, in terms of investing, right? Disney had an awesome quarterly reports, beat Wall Street earnings. One of the biggest reasons, apparently, why is it raised its prices of subscriptions to Disney Plus and big acquisition of ESPN.
Right.
I mean, that's big.
So,
It's
yeah,
huge.
that's big. I mean, ESPN is the sports arena, just in general in the United
Yeah.
States. I don't know how it is in South Africa, but I imagine in Europe it's big, and
Yeah.
especially like there's a lot of things that ESPN is contributed to. I mean, in terms of all sports, that's your one
Y-
network for Sports Central.
Yeah. One of the things that always amazes me about like American sports, how can I say, reporting in general, right? It's just the sheer amount of stats and data you guys throw at your audiences. Like if you watched a normal like a cricket match, right? In South Africa or even a European soccer match, right? You'll hear the commentator, you'll talk about, this player does this, and you might wax lyrical about the guy's history. But I recently saw a basketball match on TV. I just happened to be switching through, and it's crazy. Like you're just spitting out stats and figures.
Well, 1 second. The type of sports in the United States, that they play is baseball, okay, basketball, and football. And all of those sports are
Yeah,
heavy stats
yeah,
based, okay, which is really important to note that. So, even though it's a team sport, there's an element of being a single player, especially in baseball, okay,
yeah,
and especially in basketball. Okay, there's always that star player.
yeah, sure.
Stats in the United States is, a baseball card usually comes with, all the information about the player, how many runs, how many home runs, how many steals, all
Yeah,
the type of things. So it's really an important factor. But I think ESPN has a much more global perspective, and
yeah.
maybe if I mean, I presume ESPN is much more international than Disney
Oh
is.
yeah,
So
as a
if
brand
that's the
anyway.
case, right, and if that's the case, and Disney could piggyback on that
Mm,
international exposure, that will
exactly.
help increase their sales down the line. So I
Exactly.
think
They'll probably upsell, to their streaming services. What are your thoughts on Disney as a company of late?
so. Bob Iger, which is just an amazing CEO, really
And
just
he's back.
and he's back. So he knows the business of entertainment. Really I would say a statement
Yeah,
of a entertainment executive that has really, gone through so many ups and downs in the market over the past, I would say, 40 years of his experience, 50 years of his experience.
yeah.
So he does have a lot under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that he knows how to orchestrate, the various entertainment streams into something of an orchestra, where they provide multi-level kind of exposure
Yeah,
for their other sectors of their company. And like you said, they're piggybacking on each sector, on each, type of forum
yeah,
that they're reaching out to their clients. So, if you think about it, 35% is direct to consumers kind of business, linear network, which is online stuff. Um, Licensing is maybe 11%, and parks and that type of stuff is 33%.
yeah,
So, it's interesting that they're expanding the direct to consumer sector, where
yeah,
they're trying to get more of this, like be more of a competitor to Netflix, let's just say.
yeah. And moving on to Alibaba. I mean, similar to Disney, they've had an excellent quarter. Two big things that happened with Alibaba is they've invested heavily into AI, which seems to have paid off. And they're going to be splitting the business into six different um, smaller entities, you know, which is very interesting for, well, Chinese slash state-owned, company. Any thoughts on Alibaba, especially for traders?
So Alibaba has really transformed itself on many, many, many ways. It is, I guess it's I would say, could I say it's the Google of China? I don't think
Yeah,
that
it's huge.
yeah, it is a huge company, um, and has stayed kind of almost like a ghost of Google. So, they're doing everything right, and they're jumping on Google's, let's just say, model for now.
Yeah,
Uh, and so far, it's been proving to, show them up. So, I think that that's a continued forecast for them as they continue, kind of not just duplicating success.
yeah,
It's very interesting. Asian countries,
yeah,
not all of them, but Asian countries, maybe besides Korea, Asian countries just, they know how to do, they're not creators, but they know how to do whatever you created better.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny you should mention that because, I had a friend who he worked for Chery, a car company in China, and he was saying like their philosophy, they don't have an issue with copying, provided you replicate, what someone's doing and then improve on it. So, like you were saying now, that copying isn't an issue. They're very good at doing that. They copy, replicate, improve, and make it cheaper. It's
All the
something.
electronics that Japan ever created, they didn't create the cassette player. They didn't create
No, it's
all
all technologies that were out there already. They just are way better at, replicating
and
and bringing
producing
it
it.
to and yeah, mass producing,
Yeah,
than the West could ever hope to, you
yeah.
know.
So that's
Um,
they know that, and they played to that game.
yeah, like Apple Vision, I can't wait for the Chinese knockoff of that, to start getting into the hands of, people who can afford a VR headset as expensive as that. And I guess on that note, any advice for traders out there? There's a lot happening,
Yeah, I mean the market's getting
markets.
soft now. I mean, I know in South Africa it's still chilly in certain parts because
Yeah,
they're experiencing winter, but the northern hemisphere is, and 80% of the population is in the northern hemisphere is
yep,
experiencing summer, and
yeah,
you're experiencing summer at the heart of the summer. Okay, end of August, middle of August is
yeah,
really where everybody's taking as much vacation as they can before they get back to school or get back to work September 1st, either in
yeah.
the United States or in Europe or wherever it happens to be. So this is really a time where the markets are getting softer, and you see it because the markets are drifting lower. They're not, really just selling off, they're just drifting lower. And
Right.
it might create a really good opportunity on the upside,
I see.
especially since Apple is debuting their next phone or their next conference come October. Generally, they do it, correct?
Yeah.
So something to, look forward to. I mean, the markets have really done very well for 2023 relative to where we were in October of 2022.
Yeah.
So, it could continue this upwards momentum if it just stays status quo.
Awesome. And on that note, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Fred, for all your awesome trading and investing advice.